all life. So guide the important work that is done in this chamber, that what is done will be for the common good. And as they work and receive a proper return for their labor, arouse our concern for those who are anxious and struggling because they are out of work. We pray this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, whose earthly life shared our labor and ministered to those in need. Amen. Say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
This House is now in session. Minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, October 8th, 2019 to be confirmed.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that those minutes be confirmed.
The question is that the aforementioned minutes be confirmed. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby confirmed.
Messages from Her Excellency the Governor General.
Message from Her Excellency the Governor General to the Honourable the House of Assembly. Her Excellency the Governor General has the honour to inform the Honourable the House of Assembly that she will be absent from the country during the period the 18th to the 31st of October 2019 on duty leave, followed by vacation leave. Her Excellency further has the honour to inform the Honourable the House of Assembly that in accordance with the provisions of Section 29(1), subsection A of the Constitution, Sir Kenneth Rudolph Hewitt, KA, CBE, BJH, will perform the functions of the Office of Governor General for the period of Her Excellency's absence. Signed, Governor General. Dated 17th October 2019.
Petitions, papers.
May it please you, Mr. Speaker, I am commanded to lay the audited financial statements for the Barbados Water Authority for the financial years March 31st, 2009, March 31st, 2010, March 31st, 2011, March 31st, 2012, March 31st, 2013, March 31st, 2014. With your leave, sir. I am glad and relieved to be able to lay these statements today. We are not yet up to date on our statements because we still have to do for the years up to March 31st, 2019. Sir, this is not how statutory corporations should be run. This is not how the financial affairs of government should be run. This is not how the accounting in statutory corporations should happen. It has caused us a number of difficulties, jeopardized a number of projects that the Barbados Water Authority needs funding for and needs funding for urgently. The people of Barbados, in many respects, are suffering from our inability to get funding to launch certain critical projects to bring relief to the people in northern parishes and those in the higher elevations. The failure...
Honourable member, you know that this is not the time for speeches.
Sorry, it wasn't...
Why I might have given you a little latitude. You can't take too much latitude. It is just for those things to be laid, sir.
Sir, I will
say...
say...
Not for statements to be made, sir. Well, I understand, sir, the predicament that you may have found yourself in, sir. This is not the time, sir. for such speeches, sir.
I've been commanded to lay them, sir, and they're so laid, I'll vent my frustrations elsewhere.
Mr. Speaker, I am commanded to lay the duties, taxes, and other payments exemption H.N. Rogers Stationery Limited Order 2019, and the duties, taxes, and other payments exemption University of the West Indies Arabara Center for Creative Imagination Order 2019.
Commanded to lay the 2018 annual report of the Department of Emergency Management. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the resolution to adopt the report of the Joint Select Committee on the Medicinal Cannabis Industry Bill of 2019.
Private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first reading of bills, statements by ministers,
Already laid the reports, sir. I just wish to make a brief statement in relation to those reports. If I can, sir.
But have you not spoken, I remember before, in relation to the said?
Only to lay them, sir.
I would prefer very much that at the appropriate time when any discussion emanates from that you will have ample time, sir, to voice all of your opinions, sir, and to give discourse to this honorable chamber, sir.
I am guided, sir.
congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Move the suspension of standing orders 6, 16, 18, 20, subsection 42.5, 43, and 44 be suspended for the remainder of today's sitting.
The question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day sitting. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are so suspended. Government business is the order of the day.
Order number 8, in the name of the Honourable Prime Minister, to move the second reading of the Award of Pride of Barbados Bill 2019.
Honourable Leader of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise this morning to introduce the Award of Pride of Barbados Bill. It is a bill, Mr. Speaker, which is intended to recognize persons deserving of recognition by virtue of their humanitarian, social, religious, or educational contribution to the development of each parish in Barbados. It gives me great pleasure, sir, to stand here in this chamber as a product of free education, as one who has worked hard to be able to be of service to country, and to be part of a parliament that, from the time we've come to office, that we have sought to make wrong things right. And I say that, sir, because having been an independent state for the last few decades, it is important that as a people who have benefited from free education, that once given the opportunity to be in any position of leadership and of service to country, that we do all within our power to be able to recognize persons who have contributed to the development of this country. We well know the history of this dear island. We well know the colonial past, the colonial history which this country has had. And while we would have gained our independence in 1966, I think it would be fair to say that while we have made significant strides, there are still a few things that are outstanding that as a people we must do to be able to show that we are truly independent from what would have been once considered colonial powers. That said, sir, the Barbados Labour Party, this administration, would have immediately, on coming to office, attempted to honor what was a large pillar of our campaign platform in speaking to the issue of creating a national consciousness amongst our people. We wanted to preserve what we believe to be a recognition of persons who had contributed significantly at all levels, whether at the community level or whether at the international level, whether persons who had been serving overseas that had been doing outstanding things. And we wanted, on coming to office, to ensure that we gave full effect of law to allow those persons to be honored by their country and to be recognized, certainly by this particular Parliament of Barbados. As such, sir, within the last few months, I believe it would have been back in July, August, the Freedom of Barbados Bill would have been introduced into this chamber and would have passed in the other place, and would again have signaled to the country and certainly to the world that this administration was prepared to embark on a journey of ensuring that we pass legislation as a Parliament of Barbados to be able to recognize these outstanding individuals. That Freedom of Barbados legislation, sir, while we have not awarded anyone as yet, I think again it signals that, again with this piece of legislation, that we're moving in the direction of providing the foundation to be able to honor persons who have contributed significantly, and that whereas in olden times we would often be reliant on honors to come from the Queen, we are now saying to our country and certainly to generations to come that those honors must come from within the bosom of the people of this country, and that we appreciate the contribution that our people have made to this beautiful country, Barbados. That, sir, has required us to also examine not just outstanding individuals who have given at a certain level, but it has also forced us to look at persons at community level. And this Award of Pride of Barbados Bill is extremely focused on ensuring that persons across Barbados who have given to community have the opportunity to be able to be recognized by their country. The good thing, sir, is that this is not a situation, or it's not going to be a situation where a small committee is making the decisions in relation to who is selected, but rather the persons from various communities now have an opportunity to be able to nominate persons for consideration from within their respective parishes. And why is this important, sir? It is important because too often people have complained that they have felt left out of this process of being honored. Too often people have felt that some small committee makes a determination as to who it is that is going to be recognized in a particular area, or that they feel as though it is only a certain privileged few who have the opportunity to be a part of being honored through the normal channels of being honored in Barbados. It is therefore important, sir, that this type of legislation comes before this Parliament at this time on the eve of what will soon be another celebration of independence. It is also important, sir, that Barbadians feel a sense of involvement in the process, particularly as we approach the gathering for 2020. And I know that those celebrations are well on their way in terms of planning. I know all of the members of Parliament have been engaged at one level or the other in trying to ensure that communities are involved in the process month by month and parish by parish, to ensure that communities are involved in gathering not just their communities, but welcoming from abroad persons who are coming to Barbados to participate in community activities. And sir, I want to just take you through the very short sections of the bill, because I believe that while it is only 6 sections, 6 clauses to this bill, its significance is not certainly to be reflected in the number of sections, but in the overall weight that this piece of legislation is going to have on the average citizen of Barbados. The conferment of the award, there are 2 ways in which persons can be selected for nomination. And the intention is that every year, each month of every year, 10 persons will be conferred these honors. Now that is one section to which it relates where the persons will reside in Barbados, and then you have another opportunity where persons from outside of Barbados, another 10 each month, will also have the opportunity to be honored. So that basically provides a platform for some 120 persons at the national level, but also 120 persons from outside as well, who will have the opportunity to be honored. And I hear the rumblings on the other side, and I want to say that it is not too many, sir. I think that there have been a lot of people who have been left out of the process. 120 may seem a lot to us now, but I think we do have a lot of making up to do to be able to give communities the power to be able to recognize persons who have contributed. And if I take myself back to something which the last administration created called a constituency council, which was intended to empower communities, which was intended to empower what we would have traditionally known as local government. The regrettable thing, sir, is that that never met the expectations of average Barbadians. It never gave the ability of average persons in communities to be able to assume the type of leadership and to be able to have the type of impact that was required. That, sir, regrettably, never met those expectations, and I believe that this is an opportunity for us to be able to recognize persons in communities and to allow us, sir, to be able to go a step further, because it is not sufficient for us to simply name persons and recognize them. But I believe the time has now come for us to also teach our young people, and certainly the wider population in the world, about the contribution that a number of these people have made in their communities, but also to wider Barbados and to a place for Barbados in the rest of the world as well. And so the numbers, sir, it is a maximum number, and of course with maximum numbers there can also be minimums, and I do feel that it is a signal to all Barbadians to strive basically for excellence in whatever endeavor it is that they wish to pursue, to ideally not just say the words of the anthem in relation to being strict guardians of our heritage and firm craftsmen of our fate, but to actually live those words with an expectation that at some point in your life you will be recognized by country for the contribution that you have also made. The persons who for the conferment of this award, sir, Section 5 of the legislation provides that a person who is a citizen of Barbados or is entitled to be registered as a citizen of Barbados or is a permanent resident of Barbados, and through their sacrifice, their diligence and dedication to service has made an outstanding contribution to community life in a parish in Barbados or to the improvement of economic and social conditions in a parish in Barbados is eligible for the conferment of this award. And I think we all know people that we can readily recommend for this award, and I would encourage Barbadians to start to think through the process of the types of persons who will best symbolize this type of sacrifice, this type of diligence and dedication to service of country, and who have made a contribution in their respective communities to the betterment of the economic and social conditions in a particular parish, sir. The other aspect of the bill, sir, which I would want to also highlight, is that the award can also be conferred on persons who formerly resided in a parish in Barbados, but they now reside outside of Barbados, and also who are nominated by persons who either reside in the parish or used to reside in the parish but now reside outside of Barbados. This is a very important provision, sir, because I recall prior to the election campaign, journeying with the now Prime Minister and meeting with a number of what I consider to be global citizens from Barbados who had done outstanding work in the countries across the globe and who wanted to find a way to give back to Barbados. In some way, they had been instrumental in creating avenues within their communities in Barbados, and they had emigrated overseas, but their impact on the lives of persons in communities continued to be felt, whether because they had made such a major impact at the time or because they have continued by their contributions continuously to be able to give back to those communities. And I think, sir, this again speaks to the focus of the administration to ensure that Barbadians, when we speak of Barbadians, we are not just speaking of Barbadians who reside in Barbados, but we believe that a Barbadian, especially if we're educating global citizens, that we are educating global citizens to be able to play a part and to give back to Barbados. And this bill recognizes those persons who, again, will often say that sometimes the country doesn't recognize them, that they work hard to do things in their communities or they work hard to do things for country. And I think this again signals to persons in the diaspora that this administration is serious about you. It is serious not just about investment, as we have often spoken to, and ensuring that we include them in investment opportunities, but we also, in addition to recognizing that investment is needed by persons living abroad to come back to Barbados, we also want to be able to recognize their respective contributions to country and certainly to community as well. As is the norm with other acts, Mr. Speaker, the recommendation to the Governor General will be made by none other than the Honourable Prime Minister. The respective form in which this nomination process will take place will be announced to the public in due course, but we will settle on those details, and I believe that those will be announced shortly. But I think this signals and allows persons to anticipate and to start thinking certainly about the types of persons who would be suitable for this conferment of title in due course. I wanted, Mr. Speaker, as well, while, as I said, the bill is short, it does touch on who is entitled to be awarded. It touches on the persons who can nominate those persons to be awarded. It touches on the overall vision that we have in terms of embracing persons who are contributing to the development of Barbados. Because no matter what government does, government cannot achieve all things that it would like to. And I think you have heard us say repeatedly that we have to rely on people. Our people are our biggest asset, it is our greatest asset, and we have to rely on our people in order to ensure that those contributions that are made are able to support the efforts of the government of Barbados. I want, sir, to remind the country as well that as a government, we have also, within the first year of office, we also honored none other than our musical icon, Rihanna. We would have conferred on her the position of Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary, and again signaling to the world that she is not just their global icon, but she is a global icon for all Barbadians, and certainly someone who lots of our students, lots of our children emulate and look up to, and would like to be able to reach the level that she has certainly been able to achieve in the international arena. Bearing in mind, sir, that when the award for ambassadorship would have been conferred on her, account was taken of her contribution as well, not just as a musical icon, but also her contribution in terms of philanthropy in relation to areas of health and also to education, both in Barbados and also across the world. And again, sir, I think she is another example of a Barbadian who, again, well educated by our system, but really has, in the words of the Kofi Annan, has demonstrated that she is capable of punching above her weight. I will not hear the asides on her secondary school.
Honourable member, those are positive asides that so you should be rather cognizant of them.
I prefer to emphasize, sir, not a particular institution, but I will emphasize that she was educated in the bosom of this small island, and she is punching above her weight and doing so in a stellar way and in a commendable way for all of us to be able to feel very proud in whatever sphere of activity she places her hands on. She continues to be successful. And that is why, sir, sir, protect me. I'm being troubled by Commonwealthians on this side. Please protect me.
And on the other side also, not only on that side, but on the other side.
But sir, it is things in terms of the symbolism of recognizing our icons, recognizing people who have performed globally, that is important to us as an administration. And as I said, it is founded in a belief that it is not just about one set of people that helps to brand Barbados. It is an effort that takes place at the local level, the community level. It takes place at the national level, but it also takes place at the global level. And of course, sir, you have those persons who are contributing to Barbados who have no birth certificate that ties them to Barbados, but they have a love for this country that is second to none. And you know, they will go out of their way to ensure that Barbados basically, you know, does not fall from grace, and that they have contributed so much to keeping the brand of Barbados alive. Sir, the significance of this, the title of Pride of Barbados, I took the opportunity to go back a little bit to understand what the name Pride of Barbados really meant, and to look at the types of persons that this award was going to be intended to reflect as well. And it was interesting, sir, because apart from identifying that the Pride of Barbados, the correct name for it is the Caesalphina pulcherrima, I hope I've gotten that right, that this is a species of a flowering plant of the pea family. It is native to the West Indies. And I'm just giving you some trivia because I believe that sometimes we take things for granted. We say things about country, and we stand here and we enter into these debates, but it is important that we also educate and we teach others about the reality of why this name is so important to our country. Sir, it is described as one of the most beautiful tropical plants in the world. Most of us know it as a fiery red and orange and yellow bloom. I discovered that it also bears the name of red bird of paradise. It also carries the name of a peacock flower, or in some cases it is described as a dwarf poinciana. What was particularly interesting, sir, is that in Texas, this particular species of flower, which they term as well as the Pride of Barbados, is actually a hallmark shrub. A hallmark shrub, sir, because it has been able to withstand cold temperatures. It has been able to be used as hedges across Texas. It is highly recommended for consumers as the ideal shrub to be used in all types of environments. And to me, sir, it speaks to the resilience of our people, because the character of the person that I consider should be, this award should be conferred on, is someone who is resilient, someone who has not only demonstrated a capacity to be able to serve against all odds, but also, sir, someone who is potentially can be certainly globally recognized as this particular type of flower is across the world as well. And I thought that that was particularly significant, sir, because we often, as I said, take for granted, that we have a Pride of Barbados flower. Most of us know what it looks like, but I think our understanding of how the name Pride of Barbados has translated across the world in relation to other countries and their own understanding of what a Pride of Barbados really means. I thought that that was particularly important to share with you also today, and I hope I've taught you a few things as well. Now, sir, I believe that we have to do more than simply award persons from communities, both here and abroad. I believe that in the last few weeks, certainly, I've been doing a number of unveilings of mural projects across the secondary and primary schools. I know that a few weeks ago, we did one at the St. Mary's School, and we unveiled a mural, that depicted Jackie Opal, who's responsible for our spooge, significant contributor to the development of music in Barbados. Richard Stout, a veteran in the business who has laid a platform for several of our outstanding young people coming through the musical arena. The mighty Gabby, as well, a prolific writer, and for me, one of the greatest in not just the region or locally, but certainly in the world. My colleague from the city is also a proud product of the St. Mary's School. And I believe, sir, that he may have whispered that to me this morning as we were talking about it, because he may want me to go back and have the mural edited so that I can insert a photo of him on the walls of the St. Mary's School. But, sir, what was interesting when we did the presentation is the journey upon which we were all taken about the outstanding contributions of average Barbadians to community, or to just the social and economic development of our country. And in particular, all of these persons, including, I might add, Samuel Jackman Prescott as well, was also a product of the St. Mary's School. Now, my call at the time to teachers at that institution, and certainly a call to the nation's teachers, was that while we are depicting on the walls of these schools or in different ways persons who have served the schools well, we also have a responsibility not to just depict them on the wall, but we must also now teach our students about them and the contributions that they have made to the development of country. And I think that St. Mary's School really stood out in my mind because of the types of individuals that it had over the years produced, and my honourable colleague, as I said, is a product of that as well, so again, kudos to him. But it spoke volumes in terms of us being able to not just recognize people, but also to find a way now through our curriculum to ensure that all of the persons who are depicted on the walls of these murals are also icons that these students are able to learn about. Because I recall, sir, attending some initiatives at the Erdison Training College a few months ago as well. And during the training programs, the trainee teachers are required to produce a number of products. Sometimes they produce products in relation to reading materials, and they actually use icons from Barbados to be able to produce these storybooks for our children. Now, I am making a call yet again because I believe that the time is now right, particularly with all that we are doing to acknowledge the contribution of people of service to our country, that persons who are interested in, and are not just writing, because as you know, we've gone in the direction more of technology now, but writing with a view to being able to educate our people, and particularly our students, about the contribution of a number of these individuals at the respective schools, but across the country and across the community. It is critical, sir, that we understand that we have to do more than award, because our failure to take it the next step, to be able to allow people to understand these contributions, means that we have failed as a people as well. And we have to ensure through our Ministry of Youth, our Ministry of Culture, that these stories are told by our people whether through the various mediums of technology, whether through film, whether through plays, whether through the creative arts, which has the ability to be able to educate people across all demographics. We have to ensure that our policies right now are now enacted in such a way that we reflect this change in mindset and the creation of a national consciousness and a national movement across the country. So we have named school after school in the last few decades after outstanding men and women across this country. But again, if you ask the smallest child across Barbados why a school bears the name, or even any institution bears the name of a particular individual, you will find that the students are often not certain as to the contribution that that person has played. And I want to say to this House and to the country that the time has now come for us to ensure that in our own small way, whether at the level of being parliamentary representatives, whether it is at the level of community leaders, whether it is at the level of various associations, NGOs, we have a responsibility along with the schools to now ensure that children come to school and they learn their academics, but they also understand their history. They understand the people who have contributed to the development of this country. And it isn't just the what you would consider the big people who they need to learn about, but they need to understand the grassroots people, the people who've been in the trenches, who have fought the battles across the landscape of this country to make Barbados better for all Barbadians. That has to be the mantra that I believe all of us must continue to buy into. It is what we must do in our communities, that we ensure that people understand legacy, that they understand the spirit with which people generations before felt about their community and did things within their community. I remember when I was growing up in Brandons, there were elderly people who would come outside and sweep and maintain the road, clear out the gutters, make sure that the community was a place that was always, spick and span and was always in a pristine condition. These are people who made sure that whatever needed to be planted in the community, that everybody had a little something in the garden to be able to beautify small communities. These were community leaders in their own right, sir. And I believe that those stories need to continue to be told, but we have to know through the use of technology, find new and innovative ways to capture the audience of young people. Most young people will not spend time reading a book. Attention span, you can probably get a 45-second clip, or in some, if you're lucky, a 5-minute clip for most of our younger generation. And in some cases, our adults too, the attention span has gotten less. You will find that there is only a portion of our society who engages in the activities of plays and playmaking. And so we have to now be innovative in how we move from what may have been traditional art forms of expression to being able to engage a wider audience, to be able to educate them about the contribution of these persons to the social and economic development of Barbados. Sir, as we get ready for We Gathering, I am quite excited because I believe that the next year, as it unfolds, is going to give us the opportunity as a country to, having been working so hard to provide the stability for this country financially, to have now an opportunity to bring home Barbadians across the global landscape to share with us as we start the process of being able to rebuild this country. And I am excited for what it holds for education and for those persons who have contributed to education over the years. I am excited for it in relation to other sectors of government as well, because I see the potential opportunities that exist for persons who want to give back to country to be able to find a way to do so. And I think once we are able to get all Barbadians to appreciate and to understand that Barbados is not just for Barbadians living here, but Barbadian now has a completely different meaning and really embraces persons who live in any part of the world, because I guarantee you will find a Bajan in any part of the world, then I believe that the true life of this bill will start to take meaning once we start to internalize these things. So the last point I would like to make as well is that in the last year or so, we've been obviously continuing the process of awarding scholarships and exhibitions and granting funding to persons to do national development. And a number of these persons have been contributing to globally. They've benefited from the education process of Barbados, the assistance of government, and basically being able to fund them. But we also have a dynamic which we have to come to grips with, sir, which is that a number of these persons, once they have received the funding and they've completed their scholarships and their exhibition studies, many of them find it difficult to return to Barbados because Barbados is not ready for them. They are equipped in many cases with the skill set to be able to help the country, but in some cases we are still playing catch up to ensure that we have a place for them, sir. And we have found that a number of those persons over the years have wanted to give back to Barbados in some way because they're working with major international companies. They are blazing a trail in some way or the other in their respective fields. And they want to give back to Barbados and to their communities from which they have come in some way. And sir, as an administration, we have started the process through the Prime Minister's office as well in terms of engaging those persons to be able to find a space and a way to be able to give back to country. And I think those are the types of individuals to whom we have embraced with this legislation, persons who may not come back home right away, but who can find a way in some way within their employment or their engagement to be able to help us as a country to build out Barbados. We don't need everybody to be here to build out this country. What we must have is a situation where we strengthen the resources available to persons who want to give back and to make it easier for them to be able to come home, to be able to contribute. And I know that my colleagues in the Ministry of Finance are working on the various incentives that are necessary to ensure that that framework is put in place. But I am also mindful that we are educating persons who are going outside. I think there was a young man who was in Australia recently, and I had discussions with the Honourable Member for Christchurch East regarding his officer to be able to give back to Barbados through a consultancy in the area of energy. Now, while this would not be a traditional way to give back, because the normal expectation is that we take back money from the person if they have been bonded to the country, I want to make it clear to you, sir, that we have now been looking at more innovative ways of finding avenues for young people to be able to give back to country. And if we are going to engage consultants overseas to give and pay them large sums of money, I believe the time has now come for us to look at whether we can engage some of our people that we've been educating in a capacity of consultancy to be able to get back some of what we have spent on them as well, sir. And again, they will no doubt be able to contribute to community and to national development of this dear country. So, sir, I want to endorse this bill. As I started out by saying, I'm very pleased that as a party who spent a lot of time crafting the Covenant of Hope, which set out not just where we were as a government, but where we wanted to go and how we would take our people there, and also what our priorities were in terms of the expenditure by government. That in the midst of that Covenant of Hope was a belief that it was not just about finances, it was not just about economic enfranchisement alone, but it was also that while we were building out tourism and we were building out international business and we were building out the educational sector and the wellness sector of the country and all of the other areas, we had a responsibility as an administration to ensure that every single Barbadian had a national consciousness, a belief in who they were, an understanding about who they were, and that the things that we would do on coming to office were such that we would allow them to recognize that we believed in them as well, sir. And I'm proud to be a part of an administration that has started that process, and that I strongly believe will continue the process of ensuring that that consciousness, that every Barbadian and that pride can be restored. We all know what has happened in the last decade. A lot of our pride of people has been decimated. We know what has happened to our people in terms of believing that they couldn't punch above their weight anymore. We understand that the whole international community didn't hear from a prime minister for a long time. Ministers weren't attending the things that they should have. So we understand all of that. But in the wake of all of that, we believe that we have a responsibility to ensure that our people know from where they have come, and they also understand that in the global arena, Barbados once punched above its weight, sir. And we as a government will continue to recognize those individuals, whether at community or internationally or regionally, who have contributed to this country, who continue to contribute to this country, and who, sir, for the most part, continue to inspire another generation to come to aspire to greatness, sir. Again, I beg to move that this bill do now pass.
Honourable Member for saying, Michael West? He was there. He just kept. Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central.
Mr. Speaker, it is not very often that I get a chance to say a few words on non-financial matters, but it would be completely remiss of me, especially during this week, to not say a few words on a very important matter such as this. Because whilst we have been restoring economic pride to this country, sir, this party, this government, sir, we have since 2016, sir, in the launch of our Covenant of Hope, spoke specifically about the need for a new national consciousness. And part of that consciousness, sir, speaks to the fact that Barbadians not just should be proud about the contributions made within our communities, within our workplace, but certainly, sir, to feel a sense that the strategic direction of the country, sir, is consistent with, one, the ideals that we all would like to see practice in government, practice in the private sector, sir. And we articulated then, sir, what we felt should constitute this new national consciousness. So just permit me, sir, just to refer to that document. And it speaks to a Barbadian, sir, who is confident, happy and conscious of moral, spiritual, and cultural values, sir. One who is compassionate and charitable towards fellow citizens, regional neighbors, and visitors to our shores, and who has a multicultural and multi-ethnic awareness, sir. Now, sir, I came in the chamber this morning and some members said that I was in a state of undress because of the tie that I'm wearing. But that sounds to me, sir, like the ethos of the University of Waterford, sir. Because a new national consciousness, the pride of Barbados, sir, whilst we don't hold a monopoly on that, we have always sought, sir, to spread that ethos across the length and breadth of this country as an alma mater. But I believe, sir, that we have to learn from each other. We have to learn from each other. And this bill before the chambers, I want to absolutely fully support, because in working towards restoring national pride, sir, national pride, it means that wherever in this country, sir, that leadership is lacking, it means that not just the 30 of us in here, sir, but all of us across the length and breadth of Barbados who will have the capacity to influence, sir, and to make a difference to families, to communities, that it is that sense of national pride, sir, that we must now engender in all of our citizens. And once we speak of the awards in this particular piece of legislation, it is really, sir, that day-to-day, the day-to-day relationship between one, as parliamentary representatives, between us and our constituents, between the various government departments and the people that they serve, sir, between the business community and their customers, sir, that we create a sense that we must now work together, not just to restore national economic pride, but that the way that we treat to one another, sir, that we change that, because we cannot simply determine that we're going to roll out the red carpet, sir, for those who visiting, but that we must ensure that every citizen that would interact with any government department, sir, will leave every one of us feeling an absolute sense of pride that we are delivering the best possible service for our citizens. And if we are producing the best possible service for our citizens, sir, then it means that we will provide the best possible service for anybody, any part of the world. And that is really, sir, what this government intends to do. And in the Covenant of Hope, sir, we spoke to that our party stands for enabling Barbadians from every family and community to build confidence as we each actively participate in shaping a happier, more empowered, just, transparent, inclusive, and caring society. Now, sir, I know that over the last few years, we saw in this country, sir, things unraveling that we never thought, sir, that any of us will even contemplate seeing happen in our lifetimes. And we came together, sir, as a party, and now as a government, sir, to put wrong things right in this country. Because for a lot of Barbadians, sir, over the last decade, they lost the sense of pride in this country. There was a complete lack of leadership, sir, that contributed to that loss of pride in this country. And as I said in the earlier speech, sir, our coat of arms said we refer to pride and industry. And in order to restore any pride, whether at the community level, constituency level, sir, at the national level, sir, we must all work hard, sir. Work very hard. Work together. We got to also work smart, sir, in order to inspire those thousands of young Barbadians, sir, who the honourable member for St. Michael Southeast referred to in terms of engendering a confidence that they can come back to Barbados, sir. Not that Barbados isn't ready for them, sir. Is that we now must make sure that Barbados is prepared and ready to take on the world. And therefore, we must see it as a matter of self-pride, that if there's a deficiency that I can fix, sir, that I go out of my way, sir, to make sure that it gets fixed. Because at the end of the day, Barbados has been good to all of us, sir. All of us. Barbados has been good to. And therefore, we must now bring back a level of social cohesion to restore any thought of whether it's community pride or national pride, sir, that when these persons are recognized as making contributions to their communities, that the respect, sir, and the inspiration that young people should see in service, sir, in service. In service. And not that you have to be paid, sir, for everything that you do. Because at the end of the day, sir, at the end of the day, this is Barbados. And we must do whatever we have to do, sir, to ensure that, one, our systems are fixed. And I do take the point, sir, we do pay people a lot of money for a lot of things. And some of it don't really make a lot of sense, sometimes. But the value, sir, of going out into your community, of mentoring, sir, young people, you can't pay for that, sir. You cannot pay for that. And the reality is that as leaders, we must provide the inspiration, the motivation, the spaces, sir, for the leaders across the length and breadth of our community, sir, to take the responsibility for making the contributions that will make Barbados proud. That will create an ethos, sir, that as we speak about creating a new national consciousness, that we can welcome people to our shores, sir, but we must also take the chance with confidence that we can go out into the world, sir, and we will work with each other, that we will share information with each other, sir, because if I make a mistake, sir, and you are going ahead, that I should share with you my mistakes. If you want to repeat them, it's up to you. But the point is, sir, we are helping to shape a new national consciousness, not by withholding information, hoping that you make the mistake that I made, but in that new national consciousness, that I am encouraged, sir, to ensure that you do not fail. And that is where, sir, we now have the responsibility of leaders in moving forward to recognize that we are not going to get everything right off the bat on the first go, but we will pick ourselves up, sir, when we fallen. We'll dust off ourselves, and we commit to finding out what went wrong and move on. Because there's no dishonor, sir, in admitting that you made a mistake. The dishonor, sir, is not learning when you make those mistakes. And for our young people now, sir, and we're talking about this sense of pride, because if you do not have confidence, sir, confidence, then that will stop our people from going into new areas, creating opportunities for others, sir, creating a sense that Barbadians now belong in the world, sir, because yes, we accept that things did not go the way they should have gone in the last 10 years. But we have to pick up ourselves now as a proud people and accept the responsibility for making wrong things right, sir. And as we make those changes, recognize that we don't want to go back to that place again. And therefore, we have to be committed, sir, to supporting each other at the community level, at the national level, in government, in the private sector, in the NGO community, sir, across civil Barbados. And I really do, sir, feel is important, because on Thursday morning, sir, I'm going to go and have a word with some young children in this country. As part of our tradition, sir, you're well aware. Because it's important, sir, that you connect. I play clarinet.
It appears as though the Honourable St. Thomas has a small problem.
But no, seriously, sir, it is important to make those connections as early as possible, sir, to signal to our young people that, one, Barbados has had a very rich tradition, sir, of leadership and development. It has taken a lot of hard work, sir, to get to where we are. But we must now signal to our young people that they too must work just as hard, sir, if not harder, than any other Barbadian that would have gone before to make it in this new world in the 21st century. And therefore, we have to give them it is not to instill fear or doubt, but we must prepare them for the task, sir, that is at hand. And therefore, as responsible leaders and responsible adults, sir, we have to be open and honest about what is required to make the changes in this country and stay committed to those changes, because the young people that we want, sir, to take this country forward over the next 10, 15, 20 years, sir, must be in no doubt, sir, that discipline and hard work, sir, those two traits, sir, are still the fundamental tenets for success. And no matter what you do in life, sir, no matter what you do, it is discipline, sir. Discipline. That is the fundamental thing, sir, that determines success. And we now must, in an era, sir, with technology, that's why I said earlier, we got to work smart. But working smart does not mean, sir, that you don't work. Because we have to be committed, sir, to making the necessary changes. We have to encourage our young people to push for those changes, sir, so that every single citizen in this country, sir, in the families, in the communities, can feel a sense of pride that when someone is nominated for any of these awards, sir, that within the community it is recognized, because these are the things that we want to hold up, sir, as the important pillars for success in our nation. It is the simple things, sir, the simple things that often matter. And the way that you treat people, sir, is one of those simple things. Simple communication, sir, about what is taking place. And that's why I'm so proud, sir, to be part of a government that has been committed to communicating with our citizens, and doing so in a manner, sir, that is open and transparent. We've come to this place as parliamentarians, sir, as it is our right to come to this place representing the people, to indicate through you, sir, to the rest of Barbados, as well as the other media used to communicate, that we have stayed committed, sir, to that openness. And long may it remain so, because you cannot expect, sir, for people to follow and you don't let them know where you're going, how you're going to get there, such that when people make their decisions on a day-to-day basis, sir, that they understand what is happening around them. And we have stayed committed to that, sir, and we shall continue to do that, because we are talking, sir, about pride in your leadership, pride in your government, pride in your community, sir, pride in your schools, pride in your churches, sir. And if we, as leaders in this place, redouble our efforts, sir, as we did previously, I know that the hole that we were in, not just economically and financially, sir, but there was a chasm, sir. When you listen to Barbadians speak about the depth that this country had come to, sir, you got a sense that people felt hopeless. And I do not want to ever see a day in my lifetime, sir, where Barbadians ever, sir, would ever have to communicate to any one of us or anybody that may come after us, sir, that absolute sense of despair that people felt leading into 2016, 17, and 18, sir. It's just wrong. Because hope for the future, sir, is always important. It's always important, sir, for keeping the social fabric together. And as I said, sir, I really felt it was important for me to add my absolute support to this bill this morning, because whilst we have been focused in the Ministry of Finance in the last year on restoring economic pride and financial pride and economic stability, sir, it is these simple things that we have worked so hard over the past 16, 18 months, sir, to ensure that the average Barbadian can walk not just this country, but any part of the world, sir, and people don't have to ask them what happened in Barbados, what happened to Barbados, sir, because they know, with the work that we have done and the work that we shall continue to do, sir, those questions will no longer be asked about Barbados. But I want to emphasize, sir, it is discipline and hard work, sir, that is the foundation for pride. And therefore, this government, having worked over the last 18 months to create a level of stability. We shall continue to do that, sir. We will continue to unlock the opportunities for young people to get a sense of adulthood, of manhood, womanhood, sir. Because as you know, sir, as a young person, when you leave school, you feel you're a man or a woman, and you got a little money in your pocket, you got a little job, sir. That makes you feel as if you are contributing to society. And for too many young people, sir, that has not been the case in the last few years. And so therefore our efforts now in creating the atmosphere where that very simple thing of a young person leaving school and getting a job and helping to pay a bill for the mother in the house, sir, those are some of the simple things, sir, that all of us in this place would have done when we were younger. And we now must cascade and do that, sir, in a very aggressive way for the thousands of young people who were not in a position to do that over the last 10 years. So I, sir, for one, as I said, I don't get a chance to speak on many of these non-financial matters, but I really, sir, want to signal my absolute support for this bill. I am proud to be a member of this government. It has not been easy so far, but sir, as my grandmother would say, when my grandmother, yes, my grandmother would say, Rome was not built in a day. But as you know, sir, as we will always say up on the hill, lives are in the making here, sir. Hearts are in the making here. Mighty undertaking here, sir. That is the ethos of our government. I want to say and commend to this chamber that you can count on me, you can count on the ministry, you can count on this government, sir, to restore those tenets that will deliver, I think, a greater sense of pride for Barbadians across the length and breadth of this country. And as you know, sir, this is customary, and I just want to say, sir, up and on. I'm obliged to you.
Honourable Member for St. Michael West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to make a small but hopefully valuable contribution to the debate at hand. I would imagine, one would imagine, that the institution of this particular award is intended to clearly signal, or intended clearly to signal to Barbados, to Barbadians at home, Barbadians abroad, and to signal to the world that service given to this country, service given in the name of this country, service which brings credit, added credit to this country, is very much appreciated, valued, and is not unnoticed. I would imagine that's the intention of the bill and the institution of these awards under this bill. I believe beyond that, it probably is, and if it isn't, it should be intended as a call to service. The fact of the matter is that we have seen adopted in our culture a disinclination to serve to too great an extent unless one is very much rewarded for that service, unless that service caters to the interests of the one or those connected to the one who gives the service. And I do not think that that is an opinion only held by myself. I think if we look at what obtains too widely in Barbados today, that view comes readily to one's embrace, that the type of attitude and disposition to service of former times in this country, which would have yielded much benefit to this country in terms of its growth and development, seems not to be rendered today apart from the accompaniment of some remuneration, some reward, some personal interests being derived towards the one who gives the service. That is not so in all cases. In fact, there are many cases where that is not so. The point I am making is that in growing instances, it becomes obvious to us that that is becoming more and more so the case. And I think the institution of this type of award is perhaps a re-echoing of the call for people to invest in service to this country for the value of the service which is brought to the country and not necessarily for the benefit which is served towards self. I think, Mr. Speaker, as well, there must be a call to service heard in another context of today's times. There are many people who want to serve in certain levels in Barbados, but who are disinclined to put themselves forward, disinclined to have their names called or associated with causes, disinclined to step out of the proverbial shadows to expose themselves to public scrutiny, to expose themselves to perceived potential victimization. Now, when I make my next statement, Mr. Speaker, there will be those in this chamber who will take offense and who will see it as an attack on the government of the day. But the reality is, the truth is, there are those who since last year of May are of the view that the hammer of victimization has fallen on them in this country at the hands of the administration. I am not making that charge. I am saying that there are those who feel that they have been victimized. And that is in a persisting context. It didn't start last May, where people feel in Barbados that if you stand up against or you go against the government of the day, or if you go against a particular party, when that party comes into office, then you feel the weight and the pressure of victimization. Now, we in this country, if we are to transform it, and radically so, must not only treat to its economic ill health, must not only treat to some of the other social negatives that exist, we must treat to the kind of culture that revolves around our institutional life, such that people must not fear the institutions which in the first instance were set up to serve them and to serve this country. People must be made to feel, if we're going to transform the country, that they do not have to fear the political process or the political directorate which governs in the day, that they do not have to fear the weight of the law so long as they lead honest lives, that they do not have to live with a sense of dread that they are going to suffer if they expose themselves, that the glare of public scrutiny will not so be manipulated as to make them look bad and make them look other than they are, genuinely, because they have dared to raise their hands to say, I want to serve, I want to help, because they've allowed their names to be put on a list to say, count me in, because they step forward out of the shadows to say, I have something I would like to offer. Now, all of that, Mr. Speaker, constitutes part of the reality of life in Barbados today. I believe this bill and the award it seeks to institute is a renewed call, a re-echo of the call for persons to give themselves to noble and honorable service in the interests of this country and this country's cause, served at home as well as served abroad. And it is an effort to express appreciation to those who have had the boldness so to do, who have brought quality effort, to the initiatives that they have undertaken in the name of this country and on behalf of this country, so that they may do credit to their nation wherever they are, whether at home or abroad. Now, Mr. Speaker, some people tend to see a Barbados of 2019, which has been built on the backs or because or through the efforts of politicians. So politicians are seen principally as the builders of the nation, and I am not so sure that that is fully the truth. Some people credit success in nation building to the academics among us and to the academic institutions from which they come, whether they're on the hill or down the street. I'm not too sure that that is fully the truth either, Mr. Speaker. And some people credit the business moguls in Barbados. These are the ones who have employed Barbadians. These are the ones who have established the businesses. And so these are the ones who have built this nation to a level of which we are proud. They have been leaders in business and in industry, and they have served this country well. And so, traditionally, historically, Mr. Speaker, we have honored them with very high honors and insignia. But I believe, Mr. Speaker, the fuller truth is that Barbados has been built not only through their efforts, but Barbados has been built on the backs of a lot of unheralded, perhaps, people who have been not only unheralded, but have remained a bit too unknown. I would want to interpret this bill, this initiative, the institution of the Pride of Barbados Award, as an effort to rewrite the story or to address an ill which has long existed in terms of those such people going unnoticed and their efforts unheralded. If I understand the leader of government business in this honorable chamber in her very precise submission given earlier, I think I hear her saying, on behalf of the government, we want to put right something perhaps which has not been previously set right in Barbados, and give credit and public appreciation and high honor to persons also not only of high rank but also of lowly rank who have served this country well. I want to say that in addition to the politicians and the private sector business moguls, many of whom have been made by the government, by the state, and in addition to the academics, whence they came, wheresoever they have come from, this country has been built on the backs of a lot of unnoticed, unheralded effort on the part of people who live at a lower station in life. Many of them, Mr. Speaker, have been the single mothers of yesterday. And some in here perhaps may have been blessed in being raised by the single mother type of yesteryear, of yesterday. These are people who knew what economics was all about. These were people who knew how to make a penny go very far. These people who knew how to stretch a meal, to stretch $1. Single mothers, some forced into singleness because of the cultural, social practices of the time. Some forced into a type of singleness because their partners had to go overseas to help to earn a living, to help to raise families and to support them. You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Speaker. Barbados has been built on the backs of those people, and the tremendous service that they have rendered to this country, economists have not been able to quantify. And you will not see any data that will reflect the tremendous contribution that they have made to Barbadian economy. I think now of one particular woman who raised a whole family, built a house, single woman, working in the, what we call the domestic space, as a domestic, raised a large family, with, 4 or 5 daughters? I don't even quite recall. But there are people like that, Mr. Speaker, and this country has been built on the backs of people like that. They were laborers who knew what real labor was, and who labored in much harsher times that now exist in Barbados, to give to this country, to provide for their families, but to give to this country, to contribute to this economy, so that others might come along and build upon the foundation laid by them. Barbados has been built on the backs of teachers and headmasters and headmistresses of a former vintage, who were more than institutional figures, who were more than authority figures in the school, in the institution. They were father figures. They were people who reinforced the values of discipline and training taught in the home. And when you got to the institution of the school, it was reinforced there. And people like you, Mr. Speaker, may I dare say, people like you are where you are today because of people like them. This House now has an honorable speaker because there was an honorable principal, perhaps called a headmaster or headmistress somewhere in the primary stage of your life, who helped to instill in you values and virtues which you have brought to your adult world, your profession, and to this House, and to St. Michael Central. And that has come because there were those who, for little pay, in a time when we were less well off as a country, gave themselves to service by raising icons like yourself, because they saw the potential in a little red fellow wearing khaki, sitting in the middle of the class. They may not have seen your locks, Mr. Speaker, which are also honorable, but they saw the potential in you to rise to the heights. Little red girls too. Yeah, they saw the potential in you guys to rise to the heights and to help to carry this country to those levels of achievement to which we all aspire. These are the builders of this country, lawmen of a former time with high integrity, obvious, apparent, visible integrity, who, though they enforced the law and struck fear in your heart, stood for something, represented something, and attached themselves to a uniform that signaled something, that spoke loudly to little fellows like us. And so that we stayed on the straight and narrow path and became upstanding citizens. These are the kinds of people I believe and hope will be and should be captured in the awards. Shopkeepers, Mr. Speaker, who raise not only families, but who raise communities. I want to say this without apology. The shopkeeper of former time who helped to raise families and households and villages in this country has been largely succeeded by the drug lords and the criminal element of that ilk, who exercise enormous influence now in the midst of our harsh economic times, particularly so at the district and community level. And they are raising districts, and they are raising families, Mr. Speaker, and it is a sad thing that we have come to that point, because where is that shopkeeper? I can remember Mr. Green, Mr. Speaker, and Miss Coultress, and Mr. Clark, Mr. Rollins. Now, these people preceded you in your presence in St. Michael Central, but they're all from around that St. Michael Central and Stational area, and all of them ran shops, and they gave you credit. They used to trust you. You know what we're talking about. This business of trust is not new. This business of trust loans is not new. They used to trust you and give you credit and you paid them when you could. And that way, Mr. Speaker, if they didn't do that, some of us could not eat, because our families we could not eat on a daily basis. But they did that, these shopkeepers. But they have now been succeeded in these perilous times by the drug lords who operate at the community and district and village level in Barbados. And, Mr. Speaker, I say without fear, facilitated by some who are involved in the political process. I know, Mr. Speaker, that as a legal practitioner, you may take confession of sort. Priests also take confession of sort. And if you are a person who is politically aware, you know what is going on. And since 2008, that has been clear to me, that there are people involved in the practice of politics at the elective level in Barbados who are attaching themselves to persons involved in illegal drug activity in Barbados to help their cause. And I dare anybody in here to stand up and say that is not true. You may say you do not know, but you can't say it is not true. Because, Mr. Speaker, I know it is true. And I think it is a sad day in Barbados. And I've been saying this for years. I've been saying this since about 2009, 2008. I've been saying that because from my experience, from what I observed, from what I came to know, that is when it started, probably started before that. But it does obtain. And it is something that strikes at the heart of our democracy. It is something that strikes at the institutional heart of our governance process. It is something that strikes at the heart of wholesome community life in Barbados. It is one of the most sinister perils that we face today. And I really would want to hope that the government would have the resources, the wherewithal, and the tenacity to ensure that something like that is brought to a swift halt. But the point I'm making is that it's people like shopkeepers in Barbados who traditionally raise communities and families, pastors and priests, Mr. Speaker, who serve for love of God and for love of their fellow men rather than for love of money. And that, I would have to say, if you're going to admit one thing, you have to admit the other. There is too much of a seeming growing instance of persons who wear the cloth, so to speak, who stand behind the sacred pulpit, desk, podium, to pronounce to the world and to proclaim the good news to the poor, who themselves are seeking to profit because they're serving for money. And market considerations are driving the initiatives that they spearhead. I say that too without apology, Mr. Speaker. And I say that in a context in which I want to strike a contrast, because I believe this bill is intended to award and reward those and to recognize those who serve for love of country, who serve for love of fellow man, and not who serve for filthy lucre. There were nursing hands and other medical professionals around this country who not only gave care to our communities, they gave health to our communities. And I believe that in the broad scheme of things, many of these people have been overlooked, their service unnoticed and unnoted, and they themselves unheralded. And I believe I hear from the gentle voice of the Honourable Member St. Michael Southeast an echoing of a call for Barbados to stop and take note of those who serve this country selflessly, who serve this country well. We've had community leaders who have contributed to cohesion at the district and village level. is something which is disappearing now. These were leaders on the ground in the districts and in the villages. And many have, by means of economic advancement, social upliftment, have transitioned perhaps from the traditional business life and gone to live in other avenues and areas of Barbados, denoted by other more sophisticated terminology, heights and terraces and so forth, Mr. Speaker. And the communities suffer. We see the scarring, we see the deterioration at the level of the traditional Barbadian district and village and community. But community leaders were critical. They were pivotal to what went on in community. They were leaders at the ground level in Barbados. And I make a call for us as leaders at this level to do all we can to see that we reverse the processes which contribute to decline and deterioration and social scarring and erosion at our community levels, to do whatever we can to see that reverse, and proper role models facilitated, proper institutions established, so that life at the level of the Barbadian community may be saved and preserved. Now, Mr. Speaker, just a couple more things. If this bill is intended so to do, I support the view that we must strengthen the framework within which we teach the virtues and values of citizenship, a sense of community. A citizen must understand that he or she is part of a national community, even if you live physically, geographically abroad. A sense of community, the embrace of our values, the embrace of our values. Covenant of Hope is a great document put out by the Barbados Labour Party in advance of coming to government. It's a great document. I invite you, Mr. Speaker, to read the 12 articles of commitment put out by the People's Party for Democracy and Development. It's a better document. It's a better document. The Covenant of Hope is a great document. I subscribe to what it espouses. I'm saying it's a great document, Mr. Speaker. Am I allowed to say that? But I'm also saying that I invite all to read the 12 articles of commitment that's put out by the People's Party for Democracy and Development. You may find it's a better document. Yes. Yes, I'm being encouraged to say I drew inspiration from the Covenant of Hope. Of course I did. And I was by that means inspired to go to greater heights and to think in more loftier terms as to how we can develop this country called Barbados. What do you say to me, Mr. Speaker, from the distractions coming out of St. Michael North? So we must embrace those values which will serve to preserve the wholesome things about Barbadian life and Barbadiana that we want to preserve and to help the country to go forward. The primacy of family, Mr. Speaker, I know you give a lot of credence to that. You subscribe to the importance of that. The primacy of family. However, we choose as a country to define family. The family is a basic bedrock construct upon which the rest of the society is firmly and properly lodged. However, we choose to define that family as a country. Respect for the environment. Mr. Speaker, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. You can hardly drive around a day in Barbados now. You don't see somebody throwing something out of a vehicle, out of a public service vehicle, out of a transport board. And usually, Mr. Speaker, I have to admit, they're young people. So that discipline of respect for the environment is being lost. Responsibility to the state integrity in our social and economic transactions. These are the things that make us who we aspire to be. And in that regard, therefore, Mr. Speaker, we must preserve them. And to the extent that instituting these awards help us to preserve these important things, I am entirely supportive. Contribution at the level of one's capacity to the national cause. Everybody can't contribute to the same extent, but everybody can contribute. Everybody can't contribute to the same extent or in the same fashion, but everybody can contribute. We must subscribe to a culture that helps positively to develop our institutions, the institution of Parliament being only one of these things. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to say, and this is simply a caution to the Honourable Leader of the House, since she leads the debate today, and I want to say that we should be careful not to dilute what we're seeking to institute here by trying to embrace or incorporate too high numbers. I believe 240 people per year, that's what it is. 240 people per year is a high number, too high a number. But that's a personal opinion. It is a personal opinion. I'm just saying that if you want the award to mean something to those who receive it, be careful that you do not involve such numbers in one instance yearly that you dilute the quality and the nature and the whole gesture and whatever it is that revolves around this reward that you want to constitute your message to Barbados and to the world. You don't want to dilute it by too high numbers, and you don't want to dilute it by how the choices of those people to be awarded are arrived at. Politics has a long and strong hand, and I simply express the view that the government needs to be cautious, that it do not dilute this gesture, this initiative, by making the process of choosing the awardee such that it becomes subject too much to the political process or any other process for that matter, which might introduce partisanship or partiality or some other undesirable feature into the mix. That is all I'm saying. That is not a charge. That is a caution. The numbers can do it. If the numbers are too high, and it's only my humble opinion that they're too high, I may not find a single soul in Barbados to agree with that. And I think you got to be careful how you go about making the choices. Certainly do not want to politicize in any way the process. Mr. Speaker, a brief contribution, humbly offered, principally in support of the bill, but in a context where I say there's some things that we need to pay attention if we want to keep Barbados and keep it what it is and make it an even better place. Thank you.
Honourable Member for St. James North.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this bill, the Award of Pride of Barbados bill, and in total agreement with it from a philosophical viewpoint and from all other viewpoints. A state must be able to recognize its citizens who do good works, and its citizens not only who reside in Barbados, but who reside outside of Barbados. And that recognition must be at all levels, sir. Can't only be at the level of the Knights and the Honourables, the Companion of Honour of Barbados. We, of course, a few months ago created new categories of national awards equivalent to the level of knighthoods as well. But it must be at other levels as well. And of course, tomorrow, the state will be installing over 200 new justices of peace from all across Barbados. That is recognition as well. This new category of awards, this legislative regime will create, at least allow the possibility of the creation of 10 persons who reside in Barbados to be awarded the award Pride of Barbados every month in any year, and 10 persons who reside outside of Barbados to be so awarded in any month of any year. And of course, eligibility, sir, is limited to those who are citizens of Barbados or entitled to be registered as citizens of Barbados, and that is key, sir, because you may not have actually taken out citizenship, but you're entitled to because by descent, for example, or persons who are permanent residents of Barbados. So, and while Philippians 3 verses 20, 21 speaks of our citizenship being in heaven, the Bible does, of course, speak towards people, urging them to be good and moral citizens. And on earth, sir, before we reach heaven. And this is the concept which undermines the whole tenet of this new legislation which is being debated here today. People, I would wish to submit, sir, do not generally do good works and humanitarian works, acts of volunteerism going beyond the call of duty, sir, on the ultimate aim to be rewarded. I think most people do it out of the kindness of their heart, their sense of duty, their sense of pride in their country, nationalism, patriotism. But it is only right to award them, sir, and recognize them after they do these works on merit, sir. And would want to assure the Honourable Leader of the Opposition that this would not be used for political purposes, sir. This is not the type of government to which I belong. So all those who merit it will be considered, sir. And of course, you have to look at how you would be, someone will be nominated, because the Act speaks towards that. A person who resides in the respective parish can nominate the individual who lives in Barbados, while those who live outside Barbados, sir, would be nominated by persons who formerly resided in the particular parish but now reside outside of Barbados, and who are nominated by persons who either reside in the parish still or used to reside in the parish but now reside outside of the parish. So there's also a wide category of the persons who can nominate people. But this award speaks directly to the sacrifice and the diligence and the dedication to service, which we are calling on all citizens, all people who live in Barbados to make to the advancement of this country. We are calling on people to make contributions, outstanding contributions, because we aim for excellence as a people to the community life in a parish and to the improvement of the economic and social conditions of that parish or of a community of persons. We are calling, as the Honourable Member for Christchurch, East Central Sports, for enhanced national identity. And of course, page 62 of the manifesto of the Barbados Labour Party, sir, following on from the Covenant of Hope, which the Honourable Leader of the Opposition here just before this speech conceded. In fact, he had no choice in conceding. That was an excellent document, sir, but in our manifesto we speak towards...
Honourable might not be a concession. I believe it's an acknowledgement, not a concession. An acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement, sir. I concede to you, sir. The use of the English language. that our manifesto speaks of the traditional Barbadian value system which has served us well, and that the Barbados Labour Party will build an enhanced sense of national identity, presenting to the region and to the world a Barbadian who, by virtue of personal excellence, will stand out anywhere, a Barbadian who is not afraid to dream, to dare, or do extraordinary things for country, community, family, and self. And hence, we are embracing Barbadians from the wider world, from outside of Barbados, where, of course, as the Honourable Leader of Government Business said, Barbadians are in every part of the world, sir, and we are here embracing them and giving them the opportunity to be recognized at the level of the state, government, and people of Barbados. As has been said, sir, those who will be eligible for this award will extend widely to teachers, to priests, to, yes, mothers who mentored, helped raise children in a district, in a community, and there are many of them. Even some who may not have had children of their own, sir. Men who have mentored young men, especially in today's age when we are fighting, sir, for the survival of our youth in many cases, and we are tackling that up front, sir, having restored state-funded University of the West Indies education within a month or two of the elections last year, creating the platform, sir, for youth advancement, whereby at its highest, 2,500 young people, sir, between ages 16 and 22, having left school within the last 2 years, will be given the opportunity now to get skills, not only skills, but life skills as well, to serve them in the future. Team building, self-esteem, community service, volunteerism, having a core group of people who, if a disaster unfortunately comes to Barbados, God forbid, we will have that core of people. The trust loan funds, all of this we are demonstrating as a government our commitment to advance the communities and the national development of this country. Others who would be entitled to this award in principle, sir, will be people who are into the culture and the arts and advancing and enhancing the environments of districts, of parishes, those who, for example, draw the murals that you see around the country, those who beautify their communities. We've had competitions, garden competitions, who has the best garden within a community. These are the kind of people who we are now expanding recognition nationally to by the enactment of this piece of legislation. Because we must, as a government, not only as the Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central said today, we don't only have the obligation, as we have been doing in the 16 months that we have been in office, to tackle the economic malaise that we found this country in when we came into office, sir. But a country is more than that, sir. And we have to create examples for our youth as to what it is to be a Barbadian, what is excellence. And that if you achieve in terms of community development and outstanding contribution to your country, you can be rewarded, sir. It is necessary that we restore Barbados' pride and industry, sir, after 10 lost years, sir. 2008 to 2018, sir. And the people of Barbados, especially the young people, sir, must not be thinking that Barbados can only be defined or must be defined by the incompetence and callousness and corrupt practices demonstrated by the
last government, sir, but that there must be a platform which you aim for to do good by your people, sir, by your country. And that is what national development is about, sir. Something voluntary, that everything can be for money and for pecuniary interest, sir, and that achievements by way of volunteerism, in many cases, sir, by many people, is more fulfilling than something that you are paid for. And we have to commit that psyche to our people, especially to our young people. As the Honourable Member for St. Michael Southeast said in opening this debate, sir, we are embarking in the next couple of months on Regathering 2020. This the brainchild of the Honourable Prime Minister, who I give tremendous commendation for coming up with this concept, sir, and driving it and leading the effort which we will be embarking on. So this not only provides the opportunity for social and economic advancement of our people, as we have activity created, so events, culture, cricket, arts, entertainment, sir, and therefore the development of our people with money circulating about the place, sir. But we're inviting, of course, all Barbadians and their family and friends as well to come to Barbados. We're looking to flood the place. And obviously, when they come, to come with their foreign currency, sir, to be well spent in the development of this country. All of this is part of us now climbing out of the gutter where we found ourselves over the last decades. And we recognize as a government that we have to fight this evil that confronted us on all fronts, and this is part of that whole fight. As I said, sir, we will also be defining Barbadian values which served us well in the past. So therefore, sir, we're going to have a platform for genealogy, so you'll be able to trace your roots back, sir, because that is important, because we've heard so many times, sir, you can't go forward unless you know where you came from. And the educational aspect and the health aspect, sir, the development of those major aspects of our country in terms of providing an avenue whereby people, especially those from overseas, can give philanthropy and advance our country in terms not only of the finance but of the equipment and their knowledge and their experience in areas gained from going overseas. As Barbadians, as we know, our history was in the 50s and 60s especially. All of us in here, sir, have had relatives who would have emigrated to from Barbados to England while we were still a colony of England before 1966 and after, sir, and then also to Canada, which opened up immigration, so its immigration policies in the mid-1960s and onwards to the wider world based on your skills and your educational qualifications. And of course the United States, sir, where we were going to, again, from the 40s, 50s, 60s, right through, sir, as a people. So this whole 2020, Regathering 2020 provides that opportunity, sir, and all of us are looking forward with eagerness to it. As I said, sir, it provides an opportunity for family and friends bonding, and therefore it's only right and fit that we open up this category of awards, sir, to Barbadian citizens who are those eligible to citizenship who reside overseas, sir.
we are also indebted to Barbadians, our families, who, by their remittances of foreign exchange, have helped in the past to keep this country afloat. And giving back to your country, sir, is a concept and philosophy which I have lived, of course, my whole life as an adult in terms of its creed, sir. We will soon be inviting the Cabinet of Barbados, sir, to look at the expansion of categories of citizenship. And so without obviously revealing anything, I could reveal this one, sir, because the Prime Minister has on at least 2 occasions while she was overseas in England and Canada spoken towards it. One of the categories we will be looking to expand our citizenship to, sir, is to a person born outside of Barbados who has at least one grandparent who is a Barbadian. And so this has been done in other countries. It's nothing new. But this would give the opportunity for many persons born in, especially in England and Canada, America, other countries, who's have at least one grandparent who is a Barbadian citizen to be eligible and to take out Barbados citizenship, because most countries in the world have dual citizenship and allow dual nationality. And this is important, sir. This is fundamental. And many persons ask for this when you travel overseas and you meet with them. And finally, sir, I would wish to take the opportunity to speak towards now the facilitation of not only Barbadians who reside overseas arriving into Barbados, sir, not only for the regathering 2020, but otherwise, and also for tourists and visitors to Barbados generally, sir, the facilitation efforts that we are making, sir, and have made in tremendous strides at the airport. The first point of contact of anyone, whether resident or non-resident, coming to Barbados, first point of contact that you have with our country, sir, the persons who you meet, the facilitation officers employed by the airport, the immigration officers under the Department of Immigration, the customs officers, these are the first people that you will encounter on arriving here, sir. And of course, first impressions still count to a large degree, and we have a duty as a government to make sure that that first impression is memorable. Therefore, sir, we have now completed 3 months ago the installation of 32 more kiosks at the airport, 48 in all, sir. 17 of these kiosks had been sitting down for a year and a half under the last administration at the airport, incapable or just unwilling or just callous as to their installation or not, sir. We now have 48, and they're being fully utilized, sir. We've eliminated from the 1st of this month use of the physical ED card, sir. And I mean, that was paperwork, a time that had long since passed us. And the kiosks are there now where you put in your passport, get all your biometric information, answer some questions, sir. The Cabinet has agreed for more questions to be put in, which will be put in next month by the service provider of the Grantley Adams Airport. And this whole platform will be ready for the start of the tourist season in mid-December, sir. The Cabinet of Barbados has also agreed in principle to an alternative method of booking into Barbados, sir, the online ED card. Online ED card, instead of now pen and paper writing out, sir, you'll be able to go on your information technology device, whether computer, laptop, cell phone, smartphone, and no less than 24 hours before boarding the plane for Barbados to fill out the ED card online, submit it to the authorities here. So, and of course, all the checks will still be done, the security checks to ensure that the national security of our country will not be compromised. And of course, we would have, in December last year, brought in the legislative platform to enhance those national security devices, the APIS bill and the cargo bill, the amendments to the Immigration Act and the Customs Act, facilitating that. And Cabinet will soon be requested to approve the development of this online ED card system in full. The system is being finalized as we speak, sir. So this is important, sir, because we've spoken many times in this Parliament, many of us, most of us, about the increasing difficulty of doing business in Barbados up to last year, where we moved down from number 72 in the world to 133, just like that, sir, in the space of a few years in terms of ease of doing business and lack of competitiveness, and lack of competitiveness and difficulty of doing business makes it so much more difficult for our country to advance, whether socially, economically, nationally, or otherwise. And we are addressing that in many ways. We've brought various pieces of legislation to address that issue from the time we came into office. And the facilitation of arriving passengers for use of the kiosk and for the online ED card system will be just part of that whole process which this government, led by the Honourable Prime Minister, is piloting, and with the assistance, of course, of the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. And of course, legislation will be required for any change, obviously for the the removal of the physical online cards, the manual online card, whichever one prefers to call it, and for its replacement. So I fully support this bill, sir, and I'm happy to be part of a government that widens the category of persons who will be eligible for national honours, sir, as we recognize merit and excellence and set another example for people, especially our young people, to aim for and to be rewarded, but within the context of the duty and obligation of all of us, and not only those, sir, who enter politics, sir, but the whole of Barbados within your capacity and means to give back voluntarily to this country which we love so much and which has done so much for all of us. I'm obliged to you, sir.
Honourable for St. Michael's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the sitting until 2 p.m. Second.
The question is that this honourable chamber be suspended until 2 p.m. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This honourable chamber stands suspended until 2 p.m.